All right, guys, number one, all right, shit just happens. We know technology, it's always a lot of fun. But today I want to focus on a couple things. So, as all of that shit happened, I want you guys to reset. I want you guys to lean into what we're about to go over because what we're about to go over, there's a lot of people that are going to live the same life next year as the life that they're having this year because they're making the same choices. They have the same identity.
Tell them.
And so, like going into 2024, if you want to have a big 2024, if your sales team wants to have a big 2024, if you're on here and you're like, dude, I need 2024 to be massive. Well, it's going to come with the choices and the intention that you have today.
Yep.
I assure you, you're going to look back and you're going to decide on a couple moments that change your life. Today's going to be one of them. I'm sure of it. So today, if you have a pen and paper, I want you to write this down. Today, we are unmasking, like Halloween, we are unmasking ourselves and we are going into our new identity. There's a new identity that you have. There's a new frequency that you have. You've been walking around like with a freaking mask on. It's like walking around with a COVID mask on, and it's not 100% you. And everybody lives that way. I am going to go over a couple things today that changed my identity and actually elevated me more than ever.
Yes.
Your identity right now, if it's running at a cool 60 or 70, it's why you're getting what you're getting. When your identity runs at 100 or 120, 150, and you believe you're worth it, you will get those things. So today, that's what it's all about. Evan, what do we got?
Yeah, and listen, we're going to explain that to you because we run at a hot 110. We run at a hot 110. Andy runs at a hot 120-degree thermostat. It's like his internal thermostat. I want you to think about something right now. I want you to write this down. If at times you feel helpless, like if there's times that you feel helpless, it's time to get more helpful. So if you want to continue to be better and you want to continue to raise your identity into a top producer, like if you're a middle of the pack producer and you want to become this badass top producer, if you're a middle of the pack leader and you want to become this badass leader, if you want better relationships, if you want better things, you're going to have to raise your identity. So Ian and I are going to talk to you about this internal thermostat that everybody's got. And I want you to be aware of this. Inside of you, it could be 75 degrees and outside it could be 45 degrees. Right? Your ability to stay hot, your ability to stay doing the things that you know are right, your ability to stay in rhythm and to be deciding on that person every single day is how you're going to continue to raise your identity. We're going to give you some tactical steps on it, but it's the biggest key for people to become better salespeople, better entrepreneurs, is continuing to increase that identity. So you go from a magnetic or from maybe not a magnetic personality to all the way an infectious one, maybe a salesperson or a business owner that doesn't understand systems and processes. And now all of a sudden you're scaling, right?
Yeah.
The goal is to scale that.
And the people that are in this room that understand that first sentence, let's go back to that first sentence. The people that feel a little bit helpless or they're not doing enough, listen, the more helpful you get, the more gratitude you feel, the greater you feel. There's so many people that are just worried about themselves. They're a salesperson. They're only worried about where they stack up on the board. They're only worried about the revenue. They're not worried about helping anybody else. They're not worried about helping contribute to the culture. You're like, well, what does that have to do with me selling more? Everything, dude. Listen, when you're helpful and you're grateful and you're helping others achieve their dreams, service is directly equated to your reward. 100%. Service is directly equated to your reward. The more you serve others, the more you serve people, you can't get a reward without servicing anyone. There's no way.
Say that again.
You can't get a reward without serving other people. But most people don't even understand that in order to have a big identity, you also have to serve the people around you, your friends, your family. One of the reasons why I stay on fire is because I get to serve you guys. The higher I serve more people, the higher my identity is, the more helpful I am, dude, the more on fire I feel. Everybody's always like, well, how did Andy go from here to here? He started helping more people. You notice that he then started getting a bigger reward for it. Did you notice how then things started to happen for him in a bigger way? Then he had more responsibility, right? To those people and to the people that were around. But the people that are the most helpful in this room, they're never going to feel helpless and they're always going to feel grateful. But some people don't know that that affects your true identity. And listen, you're never going to out-earn your own identity. You just won't. Like, if I only feel like I'm grateful, if I'm only worth 20 or 30,000 bucks or 10,000, whatever it is, I'm only going to get there. Or I'm going to stumble my way above that, somehow maybe have got lucky on that, and I'm going to cool myself right back down to my comfort zone. See, everybody has a comfort zone on this. Everybody has a comfort zone on here. Everybody lives in some type of a comfort zone, I assure you, okay? We're going to talk about how we break through that. We're going to talk about how we elevate that identity and how you move past that. Everybody on here wants to get a breakthrough. Everyone on here wants to go to another level. So today is all about that. Today is all about breaking through that barrier, that proverbial barrier that you sometimes don't even know you're there. And then you're like, damn, dude, how, like, I wish I would have known that my whole life that was something that was holding me back. That's what we're going to handle today.
Yeah. And it comes down to this too. You could have this in your finances. You could have this in your relationships.
Yep.
You can have this in all kinds of different areas. Ian and I, we weren't the greatest in our relationships. We actually never had that successful relationships. They always lasted maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years, and then they cooled right back off. Well, because we went back to the identity of the people that we were around. I want you to write this down, your proximity, the proximity of people that you're around, whether that be in your finances, whether that be in your entrepreneur life. That proximity is going to either increase or decrease your identity. So if you find yourself always going back down to say you're a 10 car salesman, you go up to 20 and you start to slide back down, I assure you, you probably started hanging around again with the people that were bringing your identity down or down. If you're somebody who doesn't really work out and all of a sudden you're working out, you're getting, you know, you're increasing your identity. You're like, man, I feel like I'm looking better. That's you running at a hot 10.
Yep.
You're excited. You start the diet out right?
Are you going right to association?
Yeah, I was just going right to it.
Okay. So that association, if you know somebody, if you hang around somebody that's rich and you're like, damn, this guy operates a different way, are you going to start to look at money differently? Okay. Yeah, you are. What were you going to say?
No, yeah, that's yeah.
If you're hanging around somebody that's making more money, then your association is going to be greater. Some of you think about when you were down here with us. Listen, did you run hotter, stronger? Did you think different things? That happens to everybody.
Yo, can I say something?
Around a bigger business owner, if you're around a better business owner, then listen, if you're an average business owner, you get around a great business owner, that proximity will heat you up.
Have that aha moment.
It will heat you up and make you start to think differently. Evan, what do you have to say?
100%. And so you just got to realize this, like take inventory of your life right now. If there's times, Dave, Javier, Mark, where you're getting hot on something, you're going to have to go through this phase that we're going to show you how to identify your identity, how to lock it in. Here's the keys for us. So I want you to write this down. Here's the keys for us. Always, we want a great mindset in life. Like we always want to continue to have a great mindset, maintain our life. That's number one. Number two is we want to learn how to execute business and strategies. Like that's always going to be something on our mind. But number three, the most important thing that Ian and I follow is continuing to raise our identity and believe that we're worth it in all areas of our life and raising it to 120 degrees.
Has anybody ever been around people that lowered their identity?
Oh shit!
That lower their identity?
They're dream killers.
Okay, those energy killers, those energy vampires.
Yes.
Listen, now, are those people everywhere in the world? Yes. But some of you allow them in your house. Some of them you allow, like proverbial, like right next to you as a best friend. You allow that, and that's a choice. Okay, that is 100. You're like, well, it's my wife. Well, I'd get rid of her. I mean, I'm just telling you, I am not going to allow.
Why don't you just have a
conversation? Nope, I'm gonna fire you. Like I'm gonna tell you one time, and then it's done. Like
okay.
I am going to fire you.
Hey, I like it. It's hard line.
But listen, I have friends, I have clients, I have people that if they continuously bring that in and they're lowering the identity around me, listen, I'm not going to fire you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, you know, you're going to start getting 85% less. Like immediately, I'm going to cut you down 85%. No matter where you were at, I'm going to cut you down 85%. You're not going to have that access to bring that identity down. If I'm trying to increase my finances, but I'm hanging out with a bunch of broke people, I'm talking about like bums, like they don't get money, they spend money, they're in the clubs every weekend, they're buying all this shit that doesn't matter. That's a broke mentality to me. So you've never seen me do that. So why am I going to go hang around people that are going to lower that standard to me? If I'm going to hang around shitty salespeople and I want to be the best salespeople, that's like counterproductive to who I'm trying to become. Okay, life is all about these choices, and if you can't identify them and make them, then you'll just fall into the same life as everybody else. And that to me is the worst thing that I could ever imagine.
Fire, Ian. So I want you to write these things down. It's going to come down to three things, and it's always going to come down to these three things. And these are the three things that work for us. So.
And they might not work for you, but they do work for us 100% of the time.
And they work for 95% of the people that actually are coachable and lean in. So if you're like, Evan, I got this big dream, I got this big identity, I manifest these things and I have these daydreams. I'm in the shower and the water's hitting me in the face. And every day I'm thinking about all these big things in my life.
All I want to accomplish.
You're on to something.
Yeah.
Let me explain something to you. You have a big dream and you have a big identity.
Does
Now,
everybody feel
you
that,
need to
Evan?
heat that up.
Does everybody get that?
Most people do, but they ignore it.
Okay.
A lot of people ignore that. They're like,
So you're saying most people have those dreams, and I think that probably I don't think that most people. I think that I think people have some average dreams, but I think in here we have some big dreamers. And Evan's saying, dude, if you have that feeling, you're going to want to lean into this extra because this is how you're actually going to go get them.
Yeah. And
Without this, you can't.
Everybody always asked Ian and I, how, we never had a problem in believing that we were worth a lot more. Now, at one point, you do reach a level of money or success or different things where you're like, you might make your first $1 million. Let's just talk about your first million, because sometimes it almost feels impossible to make that. Once you make that, you start to think like, I've made it, right? You have to then increase your identity and you have to go through this process at every single level. So I don't care if you're a brand new salesperson on here looking to make your first 5,000. I don't care if you're a new coaching company looking here to land your first few clients. It's always going to come down to your self-worth and what you believe. That sounds super cheesy. I know, because it feels kind of cheesy saying it, but it really comes down to these three things. So we lean in on the Holy Trilogy. I want you to write this down, the Holy freaking Trilogy.
Yep.
The Holy Trilogy. This is how you increase it. Number one, you have to have faith. So we're going to explain faith. Number two, attention. And then number three, association.
Intention.
Intention. I'm sorry. Intention. So number one, you got to have faith. Number two, you have to have attention, intention.
Yep.
Number three, you have to have association. So we're going to break these down for you. Ian, break down number one, faith.
Well, number one, man, I wasn't the most faithful person, like in my faith of who I, and we're going to talk about God, and some people that it might not be what you believe. Listen, we're coaches that are going to coach for what has actually worked for us, which most people don't do. So if this is something you don't resonate with, I'm sorry. I don't know how else to do it. I can only be authentic and true to me. Some people, you got to be authentically who you are. You're not. And maybe that could be your problem. But when God is the center part of our life and we have faith, not just on Sundays when we're walking into church, but like I have faith that I'm going to do great on this Zoom today. I have faith that I'm going to change a life today. I have faith that, I have the best customers ever. I have faith in my business meetings outside of everything that I'm doing. I don't just have faith when I'm walking into church. I have faith when I get on that phone. I have faith that it's going to work out today. I see a lot of people that say they have faith, but then things start to happen to them and then they lose the faith. Dude, you have to keep the faith all the time.
Or you have faith when you're in those spiritual places for you, but when you go to like a business meeting or your first speaking gig and you're terrified to speak on stage, somebody calls you and you finally landed your first one, do you have faith there? Do you bring God into those situations? Do you believe? Because the way that Ian and I feel at peace is we feel like we have love, care, prosperity,
favor,
walking in favor at all freaking times, not just when we need it, and or not just when we're like, just feeling it.
We usually have it when we're most nervous, and that's a good feeling. You've seen Evan pray for our team. He says a team prayer every time before we go out to do anything. And it's always just speaking what he's feeling. God is speaking to him, man. And he lays it out there. It changes our whole team. But that's every day for us. That's every day. It's not a someday thing. And I see a lot of people that run cool in their life. They're just cool. And sometimes it's because they're disconnected from that faith piece. You're like, what does that have to do with sales? Everything. Dude, when I feel like this, and I feel like I'm meant to be there, I am him. I'm him. I'm him. I've been chosen by God to be in your damn life. I've been chosen by God to help you out in this sales call. I've been chosen by God to be right here in this moment to help you. People are like, that's crazy that you feel that way. It's crazy that you don't. If you did, I'm telling you, it would change your life. When I get around a customer, there's no mistake about it that I've been put here to provoke you into a great decision for you and your family. And I'm going to honor that by really, truly taking care of you. Now, there's a power in just believing in having this inner belief that we always try to trigger and we try to bring. There's also a power in number two, and that's having intention. So you've got your faith. I think the double shift happens, and I would write this down. Your double shift happens when you've got the faith and then you have the intention. If you can back your faith, which you have a belief, and by the way, you can have, I don't care what you have faith in also as well. I don't care if you have faith in whatever God you believe in. I don't care if you have faith in just yourself. I just want you to have faith in something, in the universe, in abundance, in something that you believe. Because if you believe that it's just
we're just here and we're just stumbling
you're
through
tied to
life,
nothing.
then that's your problem. You have to start to think bigger. You're not on a frequency where you're believing that there's more at power than just you.
True.
So I don't care what you believe in. I don't care if you believe in just your freaking self, but you're gonna believe in something.
Believe in me.
Believe in something. Okay.
We used to send out wristbands. What did those wristbands say for Andy? WWW, what would Andy do? And we'd send them to sales teams. We're like,
people got
hey,
pissed
bro,
off that.
people got pissed. They're like, you're
We were
calling Andy Jesus. We're like, no, dude, we're just saying when you go out there and say something stupid, just look at this and decide what would Andy say in this situation. You know what I'm saying? Because he says the right things in the right times, you know? And that was backlash on the internet by the Jesus haters.
That's gonna go along with number 3, which is gonna be association. But you know, one of the biggest things Ian and I over the last couple of years, as we really quickly learned how to make $200,000. Like that wasn't really that hard for us in the car business. We could stumble through that with a little bit of grit, a little bit of hard work, you know, some charisma, some connection. But what we found is when we really wanted to go to these big 7-figure numbers and we wanted to create a big dream, we had to have a big identity with our faith and with what we believed in. And we had to go into what I'm going to talk about at the end of this call is a season of no. So there's going to be some things that if you're really paying attention here, it's going to change everything in your life. And when you can change everything in your life, we actually change your belief. That's when you actually change the sale. Yep. See, money's easy. We can teach you how to close and negotiate. We do a lot of that on these calls. But if you can change your beliefs and if you can change the way that you operate and unlearn some stuff and then actually relearn some stuff, that's where you go into the next level. So Ian, intention, that is one of the biggest things is you see a lot of people in the world, they don't have that intent.
Yeah.
They don't have that power and intention.
And what's your intention of the day? Like, do you just hope you're going to win the day? Like, oh, I hope it's going to be a good day. Dude, you already lost.
Yeah.
Listen, I know it's going to be a good day. I am going to demand it's a good day. I am going to require that it's a good day. I am going to also have the intent, like that I'm going to serve we talk about serve our customers at the highest level. Some of y'all give them the most dog shit customer service ever. Like, it's embarrassing. Like, you're not truly serving them. Like, I can't sit with Daniel and see if he's really doing all the things that we talk about, doing the videos, doing the reach out, sending the food to their house. I can't see if he's actually doing that. So you're going to have to audit yourself and decide. But listen, my intention for my customer is that I'm putting them in the right product. I'm not overselling them. I'm not putting them in the wrong things. I am taking care of them. Some of them, you need to adjust your intent. Some of you, you're just selling for you. You're not selling to serve them. See, I'm selling to serve them because when I talked about servicing directly equals rewards, some of you, you're only selling to what you want and what you need, and that's why you don't sell a lot. I'm selling to like what they need, to what they want. My intent is to serve them. They can feel my intent is to serve them. My intent isn't to close them, to say some bullshit to them. My intent is to actually be there to serve them. That's my intent. I see a lot of people, salespeople, they just need to adjust that intent, take you out of it and like, you know, put some love and care into it, you know? And then if you did that and that's your intention every day, people are going to feel that good intention from you. People are going to feel that. They're literally just going to be attracted to that.
You know, my intent was always, I was going to get happy when I became rich. That was my intent.
Yeah.
So I was always frustrated. I was always pissed off. I was always this. I was always
I'm going to be happy when.
I'm going to be happy when this happens. I'm going to be happy when I get this.
I'm only going to be happy when I get
I'm going to be happy when I lose 10 more pounds. I'm going to be happy when I look at this. If your intent is always contingent upon the result, if that's what it is, then you have to adjust it. It doesn't need to be contingent on the result. It needs to be contingent on who you're becoming, on your faith, on your intention. Okay. So my intent is also contingent on if the customer says yes or no. My intent is contingent upon my skills, on my belief in myself, on the process that we're going through. But see, most people, they lose us right here.
Yep. I know this is kind of deep. And listen, when you really truly focus on these things, you're on fire. Like when you really truly master what we're talking about, when you have these intentions for the day, you have this faith, you have this association that we're getting ready to talk about. It's hard not to live like this. It's hard not to get what you want. Like money's easy to make when you are this person.
Yeah.
See, some of you are just trying to have something, but you're not trying to become something. Who you become is directly correlated to what you do, and it's exactly what you're going to have.
Give them the
plus
formula.
do equals have. You got to become this.
Sorry, I was yelling over you.
Plus do. You got to become this to do something, to have something. I see leaders are like, I want my team to operate like that. I'm like, but you don't. So like, if you don't become that, then they're never going to do that and they're never going to have that. You're actually thinking of the formula all wrong and it doesn't work. Be plus do equals have. When you become that, you do that, you'll have that. It's a guarantee.
I love that. And so what do you intend to do? I intend to be a good person. I intend to be a decent human being. I intend to close these deals. I intend to show up and grow up and deliver every day. I intend to go to bed tired and wake up hungry. I intend to do these things that other people aren't intending to do. I also intend to do the hard stuff every day. I intend to have a good morning routine to set myself up for success. A lot of people, they're just stumbling through life, and we see them a lot in church. We see them different places. They're tumbleweed Christians. They're tumbleweed in life. They're there one day, they're not the next. And everything to them is just a game. And it's just a joke. You see, we're very intentional. We're very intense. We're very much people who get what we want because we know what we want. I want to know right now, how many of you guys can write down right now exactly what you want so we can coach you on what you want? A lot of people in life, they don't know what they want.
They're like, well, I want more money. That's never going to be it.
So if you can be clear on what you want and you can understand this, then that's how you truly scale life. The number 3 thing, and this was probably the most, I mean, they're also powerful, but like, gosh, association. I want you to write this word down. Association.
Listen, if you hang out with somebody that's a freaking 850 credit score, their life is on fire, their faith is on fire, they're doing the right things, you're naturally going to do those right things. Your temperature is going to be picked up from a 75 in the finances, a 75 in the physical health, in any of the areas.
Yeah. And going back to how Ian and I grew up. So Ian and I grew up in a rough neighborhood in Colorado in the 5 Point district. It was just a gangbanging community. Shit was crazy. We grew up around a lot of drug dealers. Like, that was all my sister and brother's friends, and they all drove nice cars, and we thought it was normal. So we always, actually, one of the best things that ever happened to us was we were born around people that were getting money very quickly. So we never had a problem with understanding money. The problem was, in our association, we also got in a lot of trouble because we thought that was part of life too. We thought that some of these bad habits were just how it was. We thought that bar fights and different things was just how it was. It's not how it was. It's how you are with the people that you're surrounding yourself with. As we got older and as we grew up, we still had a lot of problems in our 20s. We still had a lot of things because we didn't have a lot of mentors. We grew up with a single mom, military mom. Some of you guys know my mom. She's crazy, but she's a hard worker. She's a grinder. But a lot of the times you can't tell your kids what to do. It's not what's taught, it's what's caught, right? So as we got older and as we started to get in these new circles, the person who changed our life with association, who changed our relationships, our finances, and everything, was Andy Elliott.
Lost your sound.
Hey,
You guys muted yourself. You guys muted yourself.
We don't hear you guys.
You know that are a problem with your circle, that you don't want to be like, that you don't want to have the finances they do, Ian. You don't want to have the mentality they got, but you're still hanging around with them because you feel guilty sometimes.
And that association can breed you low limiting beliefs too. Also, when we were coming up, we thought like making $100 grand was a lot of money. Like, just to hear that number, we were like, wow, that's like, we're going to be rich if that happens. Because the association was, we were around a lot of people that had never made 30 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand, unless it was in drugs. There was nobody that we could go to see some of those things. I'm going to tell you, this weekend we hung out with Andy Frisella. Does anybody know who Andy Frisella is? Pretty much everybody should. If you're not listening to something that Andy Frisella is doing, you're crazy. Okay. So my whole, for the last 10 years, I've looked up to Andy Frisella. I said, I'm going to be sitting at his house, power of visualization. I said, I'm going to have dinner with this guy one day. Evan and I would talk about it all the time. Wait till we meet.
For the last 3 years, we talked about it every day.
For the last 3 years, we said, this is our main target. We are going to hang out with him. We are going to earn his business. He's our Dream 25 client. We taught you guys the Dream 25. We were going to coach First Form. We were going to coach them. Well, that dream came true. Why? Because, the power of intention, what we were doing, doing these for long periods of time, making that echo for a long period of time, not worrying about tomorrow, just worrying about today and making that echo. But I'll tell you what, when we hung around him, we realized that
how small we were.
Our dream, we had gotten a lot of our dream. And, life is okay. Like, life is good. Okay. Now, me and him wake up every day and we're pissed off at life because we're like, we got to get more. But that's how we're wired. Okay. It's no big deal. We calm ourselves down. We get back in reality. Now, when we got around Andy Frisella this weekend, I'm going to tell you, Andy's vision got bigger. Andy Elliott's vision got bigger. He started seeing more that he could do. We started our association because we're around our powerful team. We thought we were the shit. We walked into some place that made us feel like, holy shit, you know, that you ain't got nothing yet, dude. You ain't done nothing. The work just freaking started. But that association just took Andy from a 120 to a 130. He would not have gotten that unless he went and sought that out. So who you're around. Now, everybody's like, oh, who you're around. But dude, you're around a bunch of negative people. I can see it in your emotional energy. I can see it in who you are. You sit here and talk about, hey, don't be around these people, but you hang around your shitty ass brother. And I'm not talking about my shitty ass brother.
I was like, damn, I'm right here. I'm standing right here.
No, not you, not you. I'm just saying, like, I was just making
like,
point.
that was a low one.
No, like we have a shitty ass sister. We have five siblings. Okay, one of our siblings passed away. She left a 2-year-old. You know, I always talk about life insurance. She left a 2-year-old, and then she left a 10-year-old, and she left an 18-year-old. 3 kids. Like, that our family was financially responsible. Never had life insurance. When I sell life insurance, I'm the most dangerous life insurance salesman ever because I've been through that of taking care of a family that was left behind, right? But we have a sister that took those kids and is a really good person. We also have a sister that is fucking horrible. Sometimes she's like the devil. You know what I mean? But she doesn't talk to me. She doesn't get to talk to me. She gets to talk to me every once in a while for 2 or 3 minutes. But some of you are like, hey, I got this family member that just drags me down, steals my bliss, but you allow it. You allow those things to happen, and then you can't go be the best leader that you need to be. You can't go be the best salesperson you need to be because you don't have the courage to kick them out or to keep them at bay.
Here's what I do. Anybody who steals my energy, they only get about 15% of my time. They go from 85% to 15%. And what that looks like is if they call me and I know that it's going to be some bullshit conversation, I don't answer every call. I don't get back to them in the same day. I might get back to them in 2 or 3 days. It might take me 24 hours, but I'm not giving them my immediate response because then they feel like they can get close to me with their bullshit. So how many of you people are right now, if somebody picked up the phone and they were in your circle and they're not in your inner circle of trust and you're not developing, you know, just a few close people, you don't need a lot of people, guys.
Matter of fact, the less people you have, the better.
Everybody sees our company now and they're like, yeah, but you guys run around a bunch of positive people. Like, dude, you don't understand. We put ourselves through hell to build a cool
because
business.
we had to build those people first.
And we had to build ourselves first. So it was just an us thing before it became an everybody else thing. You got to put yourself.
And by the way, me and him only ran together before we even got this. That's it.
Well, we always had maybe 1 or 2 people.
Yeah, but you don't go on social media and see a lot of old photos with us and a lot of old friends. Like, it was a very rare thing. Like, we just stayed in this state because that's all that matters.
The one thing that I wish we would have did was got a little bit of mentors outside of our circle, outside of our industry, a little earlier, because I know that we probably could have compressed the time frame of getting great. But it comes down to this. Everybody listen up. This is going to be the biggest freaking key, Eric, Javier, Mark, Chet. This is going to be the biggest key. You've got to go through a season of saying no. So our season of saying no, when we started the Elliott Group, it was like 2 years long. It was like right when we started it for 2 years, it was nothing but working out. It was nothing but taking good care of ourselves, every single thing. And then we got into a period of time where we were saying yes to a lot of things. Too much. We almost overexerted ourselves. And we got away from the thing that helped us build something big. Most of you don't want to say no because you're scared to reject people. And what you're actually saying no to is the big dream, because you're saying yes to all these little one-offs, and then it puts off the big dream 4 times further. They say there's a stat right now. If I have you do 2 things at once, if I say, Evan, you're going to follow up on these leads, and I'm starting to follow up on these leads, and then somebody comes into my office and they ask me to do something else, and I combine those things, the first task, it's going to take 4 times longer. Some of you are trying to build a big business, but you're saying yes to all of these little things, and it's pushing off your business 4, 8, 10, 20 times further just because you said yes to the one dumbass that walked in and said this thing, or the one family member that told you to join this obligation. How many of you guys got those family obligations that you feel you got to go to? The fact that it's an obligation should tell you got to say no. Okay?
And true. I ain't going to none of my
I ain't going to none of that shit.
I ain't going to no
I got stuff to do.
Okay? But listen, guys. The main goal of today is this. Dude, take that mask off. Listen, take some of the shit that you're doing, your identity will only let you get so far. My identity only let me go to where I'm at today. When I got around the association, I am pretty good with my faith already. You know, I have pretty good intention, but I was missing this association.
That was the part.
I was missing
for us to go from here.
And then I started thinking about something. I tell everybody total immersion because that's the only way that I know to learn. Listen, you didn't just learn English by just like if you just learned another language or you were a
We're learning
baby,
Spanish.
you didn't
coming
learn
through.
anything just by like picking up a book one or two times. Like you were immersed in it.
Yeah.
So like I'm texting Andy Frizella and I'm like, hey dude, how many more meetings can we get on? What do I got to pay? Where do I need to be? How can I add value? How can I do more? Where do you need me? How can I do this? How can I do that? Well, dude, that immersion I know will be what changes me, but it won't be for like 3 or 4 months. It's probably for the next year or 2 years on that thing to actually make the change that's going to be the big breakthrough.
And I'm really proud of people like,
Even though I had a minor breakthrough.
I'm looking at Eva right now. She's come down to so many seminars and she never stops. She always stays close to us.
She's really close to that.
Ian's talking about something that you guys probably felt when you got on these calls originally, or when you came down originally and saw us. Jalen, when you came down, you're fired up, you're in the seminar room. I meet you out front of the building. I'm like, dude, I've been looking at you online for so long.
And he looked like
It's
a model,
cool.
dude.
It's
You
cool
know,
to
we
see
thought he
you.
was going to catfish us when he
Orlando,
showed
we're
up.
looking to see you. James,
You know?
he comes down all the time. But that feeling that you get when you get in the Lions Den, you can never let that feeling change. That association feeling, those aha moments. If you can stay doing this stuff for a long period of time, that's where your breakthroughs are going to happen. So many people, especially in this day and age, they want the breakthroughs when they buy a coaching program. They want it to happen right out of the gate. The breakthrough might happen 2 or 3 years from now. It might happen 5 years from now. It might happen 30 days from now. You don't know what the echo to success is doing. When you're doing something, it's echoing out into the universe. And when it comes back, it's freaking beautiful. Problem is nowadays you see all these fake ass influencers and all these people posting all these cars and all this stuff. So you're so consumed with their content that you're thinking, oh man, like, why am I not there yet? Why am I not there
I'm
yet?
not worth it. There must be something I'm not doing.
You got to go back to that faith that we talked about. You got to go back to understanding that you are on the path. You are worth it. You got to go back to the understanding that if you get around the right people that are going to teach you how to do it and you put in the freaking work, you put in the work. The people that are actually doing the real shit, that actually don't have the rented houses, but the bought houses, that have the cash flow, that got the big cars, that got the cool stuff, the real lives. What I've noticed is it's taken a long obedience in the same direction,
which is the definition of commitment.
Which is the definition of commitment.
And listen, that's the number one thing that people struggle with, even on this call.
I was on fire, Ian.
Okay, keep going. Most of you won't be here in 6 months or 8 months. Or, dude, I had a kid that text me. He's like, hey, dude, I'm broke. He's like, literally, I am broke. Like, I don't have any money. But he had $400 to sign up for this program. And I was like, dude, I've never seen you on a call. And he canceled yesterday. He's like, oh, I got to cancel, man. I ain't got no money after a month. I go look at his training platform. You know how many hours he did? 3 hours. You think 3 hours is going to change your life? If I was a broke motherfucker, you know what I would do? I would have done 4,000 hours because I'm that fucking hungry. Listen, some of you're going to need to increase your hunger. Because that's the one thing that if you do this with all of this combined, you will actually make a change. But you know how many, I don't even know the word because I want to use a really nasty word, but you know how many people sign up for something and then they're not hungry, they don't do the work, and they don't even want to do it for a long time. They're just looking to buy the results. Dude, these results aren't bought, they're taught, and what you're going to have to do, you're going to have to earn them so they're permanent.
Yeah.
So they're permanent.
And if you've noticed, we're not going anywhere. We're just getting crazier and crazier. Everything that we teach, Ian and I, when we sit down and we figure out what we're going to talk about these calls, we talk about the stuff that we know that matters. We see so many badass salespeople, even in our company. Like our company is not immune to this. That if we could just change their identity just a little further, we could stretch them a little bit. And by the way, we do it a lot. We've got like the Kirbys right now. Who knows Maria and Bryson Kirby? You might have signed up with them. Their identity is on fire. They believe they're worth everything. Ian and I are always speaking life into them. We're always telling them, you got to get close to your faith. You got to get some new association. You got to get in some new rooms. You got to go network. You got to do these things. You got to start to put some pressure on yourself. You got to run towards some pressure. I would write that down. Run towards pressure. Here's what pressure looks like in my life. I try to do bigger meetings. When I first started to speak, I try to do 5-person, sales meetings, and then I would do 10 people, and then I would do 50, and then I would do 100. I would do the things that made me feel uncomfortable. If you could write a couple things down right now that make you feel uncomfortable, and you can attack those things, all of a sudden you have this new confidence, and then all of a sudden your identity is going up, and then you're looking people in the eye differently, and then your words are coming off differently when you're overcoming objections because you did what Ian said. You're like, I am him. Ian has this written down on his hand. I am him, and he keeps it on his hand because he's always talking like, I am this guy. I am this guy, and he's manifesting it which also sometimes might sound a little vanilla or corny to people, but it's the
Works for
truth.
me. And
You
you know
gotta
what?
have that vision.
You know what? Some people live the same patterns over and over, and that's why they don't have the hunger. I see somebody saying, "Hey, how do I increase the hunger?" Well, I would ask you what's in your bank account. And if you put a lot of money in your bank account, that could be that now you're satisfied. Now, if you're trying to figure out how to be hungry and you're broke, then I don't know how to help you because I was the guy that outworked everybody. So, like, Ryan, drop how much you got in your bank account because I got to know who you are. Because I could just go simply say, "Hey, listen, dude, if you're broke and you're not hungry, I just don't even know why you would be that way." 6K, Ryan, that's broke. Like, listen, you got to look in the mirror and decide who you want to be, dude. You got to go back to the drawing board and know that you're worth it. Know that you're meant here to live a big life, dude. Know that, like, why are you here? Did you want to make an impact? Do you have something in your heart that tells you that you're supposed to do some big shit? If you have that feeling, if you don't, then you're probably just meant to work at KFC. If you do have that, you're meant to go pursue. You're meant to go attack. And your problem is, and I don't know your name, and probably that's why, is because you don't have the association. So you're around a bunch of people that are making 5 or 6 grand or have 5 or 6 grand in their bank account, and you can't think bigger because you haven't seen it with your own eyes. Dude, you got to get around somebody that's going to fuck your ass up and show you the way. It's going to keep you hungry. You think you cannot be hungry around me? You think you can be, "Oh, I'm not that hungry." You'd be ready to eat the fucking paint off the walls, dude. When I was around, yeah, you will be, because I'm ready to right now. The styrofoam off these walls or whatever that shit is. Look, I was around a lot of people. Ian and I figured out a way to get to $30,000 in our bank account, and we thought we were freaking rich. And the funniest thing in the world was we were at our first seminar with Andy, and he comes out, and it's like the dude can just read your damn mind. It's the weirdest freaking thing. And he has that eye that looks at you like this.
The eye that looks at you, and he starts
And it's
going
red
off,
all the
he
time.
starts going off on a tangent about everybody who thinks that they got $30,000 in their bank. And he starts going off on this tangent. I'm looking at Ian. I'm like, "Dude, did you send him our bank statement? What the hell?" And he starts going into you figure out a way to emulate the people that are around you. So when we go into this rant about association and we're talking about this, the problem is you get hot on something, you get hot, and then you figure out a way to cool down to those people that are around you. It's like the outside air conditioner. You have a thermostat. If it was 75 degrees in this room and we let the door open, all of a sudden it's 40 degrees out there, it cools it down. So Andy always told us, you got to every once a quarter, once every 60, 90 days, you got to stay plugged in on the calls. You got to get around different people that'll continue to boost that up. So if you're struggling with that, no big deal. Here's what you do. You write it down and you start to attack it. And you don't be one of these people that gets the information that can change their life, but then doesn't go execute it.
Yeah. So number one, I like that Ryan's question. And, Olivia handled it down there in the comments too. So this is why we run this way, guys. And this is why that there's 5 events coming up that you can take part in, that you can get around, that you can be immersed in.
And this helps increase your identity.
Yeah. And then also doing it for a long period of time. Not being the person that's just going to do something for a little while. Anybody that does something with the intention of doing it for just a little bit of a time, they're going to be an amateur, and they always return to their old life, and they never have anything to show for it. It's just the truth. It's the truth. If you do it with the intention of, "I'm just going to see how this works," you're fucked. You're never going to get it.
So I'm walking around. It's the weekend, and we're at one of those trunk or treat deals with my son. He's 2. He's like 1.5 or something. He's
1.5 or 3. He's 5.
He's 18 too. She knows. She's like, "He's 19 months and 3.5 days
and 4 hours."
How do you moms know that stuff?
Yeah. And by the way, can we get to a level where we don't say like 68 months old?
Wait till you have your first kid. He's having his first kid.
I ain't saying 68 months old, dude. I'm not going to like he's 69 months old.
On my first kid, I did do that. On my second kid, I don't even care.
I'm like, bro, he's like 4 or 5 or some shit. Like, I don't know.
And I had a girl first, which I really love her. And my little
so
boy,
you used to say the 60 months shit?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, that's embarrassing. You're like, she's 142 months old.
Yeah.
I can't even calculate that,
bro.
Let
me get to my story. All right. So we're at this trunk or treat deal, and this could be some of you guys, and you don't want to fall into this vicious cycle. We're at this trunk or treat deal, and we go up this solar booth. We're walking through it, just cutting through, and we coach solar. So I'm like, "Oh, I can't wait to get hit by one of these guys." So this kid gets up. And by the way, he looks like he just ate one of those like blow pops because his mouth's all blue. And he walks up to me and he's like, "You guys want solar?" I'm like, "No, I don't want solar. Solar's stupid. I don't want green energy. I don't want lower bills." And the kid just sits back. He's like, "Oh," and sits back down. He's like 32 years old. He's probably the same age as me, right? And then this 19-year-old kid who's fired the hell up. He's playing like he's a football player. He's like excited about life. He stands up and he's like, hey, listen, man, I understand that you say you don't want solar. And he starts kind of going into his pitch. And it was a rough pitch, but he saw that he just had some anticipation. He saw that there was a chance for him to sell something and he got excited about it. Whereas this other guy, I went up to him and I started coaching. I said, by the way, guys, look, I coach with Andy Elliott. They're like, no way, I know Andy. And I'm like, okay, let me show you guys how to make a pitch. And I showed it to him. And then I actually went out and did one for him and showed him how to close a deal. And I talked to the guy who was 32 and I said, dude, why is your energy so low? How long have you been doing this? He's like, I've been doing it for a year. I've been off and on for a year. I'm like, so is this like a part-time gig? And he's like, yes.
That's your problem.
That's his problem. He's not all in on it. I said, how much studying have you done in the last 30 days? It's like a little bit here and there. I've done Knoxstar University, this and that. So he's just one of these fly-by-night sales guys.
And they're everywhere.
And they're everywhere.
They're even on this meeting.
They're even on this meeting. You might check the box that you're training and you're not consciously taking notes.
Or you're not trying to execute anything.
And you're not executing it. The 19-year-old kid, I tell him what to do. He goes out and he makes a deal on the very first pitch I told him what to do. Then he DM'd me about 4 or 5 times. He even tried to come up to the damn office. I'm like, bro, I'm going to help you out. He was intent. His intention was he was going to level up. His identity was bigger. This other kid who had been beaten by life because he kept going from thing to thing to thing to thing couldn't figure out what his problem was. His problem was he hasn't focused on anything for 5 or 10 years. He hasn't gotten good at anything for 5 or 10 years. You're not going to be a freaking expert at it until you have thousands of hours of studying and growing. And it's going to be tiring and it's going to suck. And it's not going to feel good. And when you feel like you're making history or you want to make history, it feels fucking lonely. It don't feel like you're doing anything big. Every time Ian and I are in our day-to-day lives, we never feel like we're doing anything special. In fact, it sucks 95% of the time. But you know what we do?
I like it a lot.
We kind of enjoy the suck. But you know what we do? We understand that 5 or 10 years from now, if we continue to do what we're doing, we're 32 now. All of our friends that had these shitty identities, these shitty mindsets, these terrible freaking habits, now they're still calling us. And by the way,
They're restarting.
sometimes I don't answer, but they're always restarting. Don't be the people that are restarting in their life. Be the people that are freaking focused and continuing to go.
Okay, so we talked about 3 things. You should master those 3 things. You should really focus on them. I'm gonna say them again: faith, intention, and association. You should really put those on your desk, on your mind. You should really be thinking about how you can raise your identity. If you really understood what we were saying, if you're a business owner that sells 30 cars, your identity probably is that you sell 30 cars.
Yep.
If you're a salesman that sells 15, your identity is wrapped in that you sell 15 or 20.
It's always,
And that might be what you think is possible. Limiting beliefs are a real thing, and you usually adopt those, through just experiences and things like that. So if you want new experiences and you want a new identity, seek association, seek some of these things that we were talking about. Anybody can go from being a 20-car guy to a 50-car guy. There's a little bit of information difference that you're going to have to do and a lot of work ethic difference, but anybody can have that. Anybody can take a business from $1 million to $5 million. It happens all the time. It's not special. Any one of you can get off this call and go drive around in a neighborhood that has, $20 million houses. They just have probably a little bit more faith, a lot more intention, and a lot more association.
you see how much fucking money is around? You see all of these houses, all of this stuff. There's so much.
Well, there's 33 million businesses in the world. That means there's
33 million small businesses
in the world.
United States.
And
350.
Yeah, in just the United States. And then there's we could go over a lot of these stats, but there's just money everywhere. There's people that want to spend it everywhere. If you become this, you're going to have a brand. Now let's just finish this real quick because everybody wants to know about branding. Everything we just said is branding. Everything we just said. Losers will tell you, "Oh, it's lead generation. Let me teach you lead generation." You're so stupid, dude. If you did this for a year, you would have the biggest brand in the country. That's it. Now you just need to continue to do that for a year. You need to continue to become that person for a long period of time.
Funny story about Andy too. Like Andy, you guys see this big identity he has now. He didn't always have that. Ian and I have been with him at every major event. We always made sure every major stage that he was going to take, we were right there with him.
We were in coat closets when they were paying us $1,500 to drive 5 states, and Jackie would say, "What? Hold on, guys! It's $1,500. You're
going to drive 5 states,
and you're going to drive 5 states to stay in a hotel. You're not making anything." And we're like, "We're just trying to practice. We just don't really know what the fuck we're doing, Now I can't get him to leave the conference room for $100.
Yeah, I can't get
Okay. So I'm just telling you. So things can change.
But I remember watching Andy, and he would never tell you this. So this is between us. that he struggled with the same fucking thing.
Mhm.
Okay, because I would watch him before he'd go out on stage. He'd be filleting Ian and I on like this rant about like what he was about to go out there and say.
No, but he wouldn't tell us this. He'd be like
But-
coaching us, and we'd be like, "Oh, he's getting ready to."
Mentally,
Yeah.
he was going through his stage and he was a little nervous.
Mhm.
And there was things that he was going on through his mind. And I would see him come back off the stage and he would be like, and he'd be looking at us like, hey, what'd you think? What'd you think? And we would tell him if it was good or if it was bad. And when he got those good ones, even when he got those bad ones, it was like he had a boost of confidence. He raised his identity just a little bit. Every single little thing that we've watched him do, it's just like just a little bit, boom. And then all of a sudden, when you look at Andy, he always would tell us, you got to compress the time frame of being great, Evan and Ian. What does that mean? In 5 years, 10 years, what it takes those people to do, we're going to do it in 30 days, in 90 days, in a year. And he would always remind us about this, all the stuff that we're telling you.
Yep.
But you have to continuously get those little wins, and you have to look at them as little wins.
Yeah, you have to record him as little ones too.
You call a sales meeting and you're not used to giving a sales meeting, and you talk to 3 people and you contribute back to them, which
That's
makes
a
you
win.
feel good. That's a win.
Yep.
No matter what it comes out to.
And let
You know?
me tell you another thing too. Who else lives with exactly what we just said? Andy lives with the biggest faith. Like he has the faith. Like, dude, we have had some serious problems. I'm
Serious
talking about problems that would make some of you just crash your car into a bridge, like bad problems. And he always keeps the faith. He always has the good intention.
He's never
He
negative.
always has the intention for the client. I've never heard him speak
Never
one thing
negative.
ever.
Never.
Not once in my whole life. I'm like, fuck, he's Jesus. Because I say negative shit all the time. And I'm like constantly trying to check myself. Listen, but the faith and intention, when his association started to grow, like, and he started getting around Bradley and some of these guys, he's like, I'm just like these guys.
Yeah, there's no
I'm
difference.
actually better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I can do these things. Like, so you've got to have this sauce. This sauce is how you're going to bake your cake to be a freaking great cake.
I remember-
You can't miss one of these ingredients.
I remember when I sat next to Sam Wiley and Ty Preston.
And sometimes we just beg you guys, like we're just trying to sell it to you. And I sometimes I feel like I'm selling it because I'm like,
Yeah.
please believe me.
It sounds like it feels like a death sell.
like because I just believe in it
Mike-
so bad.
Mike
I want to oversell it.
Mike Audio, this same thing happened to you, just like it happened to me at a seminar. I sat next to Ty Preston, Sam Welly. I figured out how much money those guys were making, what they were doing in their business. And I started, they were actually doing marketplace in a way that I wasn't doing marketplace. So it raised my identity that I had another 10 or 15 cards inside of me. I just didn't know the information. And now I'm friends with those guys still to this day. And sitting next to them raised my identity in a small way. But it ended up increasing me 5-10 cars a month. Well, Mike sat down here, and Mike's been going crazy on his health because
He would have never been able to have that perspective.
No, because he sat next to us and he started looking at. He's like, dude, look at those guys' guns. I
Yeah.
want some of those. It started raising. I know.
And then now he's been on the bike.
Yeah.
He's been growing.
Yeah.
But it raised his probably identity in his relationships, in his business. He got around another general manager.
Yes.
It was like, oh shit, this guy's good
That's
too.
identity.
And then, but like, how many years did you go without that? Like, there's a lot. You can go years with the wrong association, or maybe not the wrong association, but not enough of it.
Yeah.
Not enough of it. And then when you get enough of it, you're like, damn, dude, that would have fucking. If I could have done that 5 years ago to correct a lot of problems. No, listen, let me explain something to you real quick too. All the problems that you have, it's like bench pressing. If you want to learn how to bench press 400 pounds, you got to bench press 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, 400. You have to have faith. Everything that you've been through, all of the adversity is building you up to be the person that you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So if you're just finding out new information, you're like, damn, I should have
afraid.
figured this out. I'm 50. Who gives a fuck, dude? You're meant to receive it right when you're supposed to receive it, and then you're meant to act on it and use it.
And then go contribute it to
If you're
others.
older and you're receiving some of this information, then you should just know that you should act. And if you're younger, you should just wake the fuck up and just trust in what we're saying and do it, because there's a lot of people who haven't received it till later on in life,
Yeah.
like us.
So anyways, we're super grateful to be here because there's nothing that fires us up more than seeing you guys, like Irvin's got the fire in his eyes. Mike's got the fire in his eyes. Mateus has the fire in his eyes. He's in like a restaurant or something. He's fired up. Chase Cho's fired up. Ephraim's fired up.
Let me say
James
one thing,
Zapata's
Evan.
fired
Let
up.
me say one thing.
And so the way that we continue to grow together is we show up to these calls, we check in, we grow our identity, we go back and execute, and we continue to get around each other. Like we got Mike Audio coming back this November.
Yeah, and check this out.
Continue to level up.
Check this
That's what
out.
we
So he comes to one event and it makes a big change in him, and he's still growing. And just like all of us are, we're all doing this together. That's the coolest thing about this thing is some of us, we don't even know you, but some of us are doing all of this together. Like we're obsessed with this because we know that this is how we want to live. So my phone number, it's down there in the chat. If you want to come down to November, I think November sold out, but I always get in trouble for that. It's sold out, I think.
December's got a few.
I always hide a couple tickets under my pillow.
December's got-
But December, we have a marketing guy here. Let me just explain to you what's going to happen in December. You can be the best salesperson on here, but if you don't know how to market, I could beat your ass. Because if I know how to put 10 people in the dealership a day, but you only know how to get one, but you're the best closer in the world, I got 10 swings. I was dangerous at marketing. That's why I could get a lot of results. So we have Ryan Stewman, who taught us marketing down here. He's going to teach some wicked stuff. December 2nd is not sold out. You can be with us December 2nd, December 3rd. He's going to teach marketing.
January
and he's going to
21st
teach
to
sales,
start the year.
closing, and leadership. So it's going to be a really cool conference because we've only learned from a few people. Ryan Stewman was one of them.
And
So
January 21st to start.
and then January 21st. So how would you want us to do your 24? Would you want to start it off with a bang, with this association, with this energy? Well, text us. If you want to come in January and get your year together and have a plan and not be walking around like a zombie, confused, living the same life, well then get in the text us, come down to December, come down to January, and let's kick some ass. 480-780-2203. Again, 480-780-2203. Thank you guys for contributing your time, your energy, and your mindsets, and being the people that are different in this world. There's a lot of people that are giving up in this world, and there's no need to give up.
Elliott Army,
This is where we go to war and we get everything we want while most people are confused. So
Let's go, Elliott Army. Let's go get it. Come on.
God
Let's
bless
go.
you guys.